right, y'all, we're back. It's the September edition of these, the 101 Supervillain series. I'm going to turn my phone on silent. It's been kind of a hectic weekend, but nonetheless, this should cheer me up a little, hopefully. And as always, because, it's just been a lot. But I love doing these. I'll tell y'all that. And I'm going to tell her this when I introduce her. She's one of my favorite people to talk to doing this. So I've learned so much. I experienced so much. Jolene, you're amazing. Just want to tell you that.
Thank you.
How's everything going?
Pretty good. It was a pretty nice holiday weekend. I saw
Yeah.
Shang-Chi, which was
What'd you
great.
think?
I loved it. Like there was a part when I was like, this movie might lose me.
Okay.
Anyone that is, spoilers alert for you've seen it, but
Yeah.
anyone that watches this, towards the end with the dragon fight and the
Yeah.
sisters like let go of me. I'm like, if this girl dies, just to motivate him to like pull it out, I was
Yeah.
gonna be livid. And then he's like, I'm not losing you again. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah. I was like, that is one of those things. You'd be like, oh shit, here we go.
Like, this woman is cooler than him in every level. So,
which is why the post-credit scene makes it set up. Spoiler alert, y'all. If y'all see my spoiler review, basically the 10 Rings is getting a series. That's what that means. And I think it's good that they never announced a 10 Ring series. Like they've already knew we're gonna do a 10 Ring series, but they were like, yo, if we tell people will know what to expect from this movie.
Yeah, which is like, I'm excited because I loved her, and like, just it looked great. But also, like, I'm pretty sure there's still like an evil organization, so it'd be weird, like following.
I mean,
them.
technically, the 10 Rings is still.
Like, she did not look like she changed it to like the heroes for hire. We're mercenaries for good.
Now, if that be the case with the 10 Rings, that the 10 Rings are like the A team around this bitch, where you're like, you have a problem, can't solve, call the 10 Rings. You're like, but history says you should call the police, if anything.
It's like if somebody's like, I'm gonna bring Hydra back, but we're gonna co-opt it for good. I'm like, that's kind of difficult, especially in the MCU. In the comics, maybe it's possible. There was decades where it was just basically Cobra, but for Marvel.
Right.
There was like no Nazis involved. There was just like Vipers in charge, and like everybody's wearing green and yellow. And it's just like
it was just an organization.
Yeah, we're a terrorist organization determined to rule the world. But then Red Skull comes back and takes over every now and then. So
and the Nazis always make their way back. So then you get that. There we are. I tell everybody, for me, it goes in my top 5 MCU movies, and this is something that's controversial for me to say. It bumped Black Panther down.
Oh wow, yeah.
Because in no particular order, for me, it's Infinity War, of course, because it's Thanos' story, which they told, because they never really told a villain story that well, because that's why the villain wins.
Yeah, we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
Or we can argue about that.
So you got Infinity War, Winter Soldier, Civil War, Thor Ragnarok, and then Shang-Chi.
Yep.
And the reason Ragnarok is there is because it changed the whole landscape.
Yeah, it's just
what Thor was.
Yeah, it's just a really fun movie. Like
it's a fun ride from beginning to end.
Yeah. Like, we've had our conversation about Thanos, in which MCU Thanos is just a big old dummy to me. Like, all right, I get it, buddy. You're there. You think this works. My problem is, like, never once did they point out how he's a hypocrite when he's clearly a hypocrite.
What you mean about the balancing, killing people? Well, that's the sociopath part of him. I don't think he's a hypocrite. He's a sociopath because he's like, no, this is a good thing to do. Just kill off half existence.
But that's the problem. Like in the movies, like they never make it clear that no, he's clearly wrong. Because there were people that watched the movie that went away. It's like, yeah, Thanos was right. I'm like, no, he's wrong, and he knows he's wrong. He just doesn't care. He's from an advanced civilization that had space travel, and yet somehow their planet still died, and he's the only survivor. That seems suspect.
Did they have, space travel, not time travel.
I mean, he had to because he survived, right?
Well, I mean, he survived because he kills his people.
Yeah, in the comics, but we don't know that happens in the movie.
I don't know.
He says my planet died because of environmentalism or
Which
whatever.
I'm wondering if they're going to talk about that just in a brief amount in
In
the Eternals.
yeah,
Because you kind of have to, because you got to explain where, like, I know that we don't have to go into the full origin of them,
yeah,
but you got to be like, yo, they started here. There was Kronos died. They split off into two. Some went to Titan. The rest went to Olympia. And then, like, you get all those things and, like, what happened? Because, see, the problem becomes is like, all right, how does Thanos get born? Boom. But we just got Eternals. And then we go back to Earth. Like, again, it's a Marvel movie, so it's going to be damn near 2.5 hours. So you never know.
yeah, yeah. Like I'll say it because like I see them all. It like the trailer still leaves me like, all right, okay. Like it. I think it's the fact like I love. I think we talked about this last time, but like I love me a villain. I love me like an obvious and clear villain that like
Well, yeah,
they
see,
fight. And
I
like
get
these
that.
monsters that don't look like they're talking or like
Oh, they're
do
not. They're actually. So the thing is, how familiar are you?
like not familiar.
See, and
I know of Cersei because of like Avengers comics.
but yeah,
And
but
like
see, but you see what I'm saying? Like, and that's the beautiful thing I think about this, because I will always keep putting Eternals in the same realm of Guardians before they came out.
oh
Like,
yeah,
a lot of people really weren't familiar with it. So where the monsters are the deviants, which
yeah,
they've changed. So basically, the Celestials. This is the fucked up thing. The Celestials come to Earth and was like, let's experiment on cavemen, right? And in the process, they create the Eternals, the Deviants, and allow them to just be regular men, regular humans. And that's what you get. And so, because the Deviants are just grotesque, disgusting figures, they ran them underground, like to the bottom center of the earth almost.
yeah.
And
And
it's
like
like,
and
yo,
the difference for me is like the trailer for Guardians was fun. The trailer for this is interesting, but like there's the deviants when they're monsters. I'm just like, all right, you know,
yeah.
this looks like it could be any fantasy or sci-fi movie versus
It
like a
pretty much
Marvel
is.
movie.
Yeah, it
Outside
pretty
of the
much is.
dialogue that's in the trailers that references the other stuff, which
Which is cool, because like the best part for me out of all that is when they're like, why did you never get involved in anything through history? And we were told we can't. And to see Fastos cry, to know he couldn't do shit about slavery.
yeah, yeah,
That's the one that's like, I
yeah.
can
Like it
stop
was, we're
all of
not
this.
like yeah, they're not allowed to get involved unless deviants are involved.
Unless the
And,
deviants are
and then
involved.
like because in my comic book circles, like, well, Thanos is technically a deviant celestial, but I'm like, let's not get into that. That's an
It's
MCU thing
so
that they
right.
might not deal with.
It's so good. So
He can
we
just be a Titan.
call it a day. I gotta get into it. Look, top to bottom, great show last night.
Oh my god, it was incredible.
But did you see the tweet I just put out about a half hour, 45 minutes ago?
Oh, I did not.
Okay. So I, for one, like I will say the past several AEW events have overall, on top of SummerSlam for me, have fully reinvigorated that whole love of pro wrestling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And I'm liking it, loving it like a wrestling fan again. Cool. My issue is we're getting too complacent, and we as wrestling fans, with every former WWE talent popping up in AEW. Because here's the problem: there's nothing wrong with them working the younger talent, but what about all this talent they were supposed to be grooming to make stars? Like, the whole thing has been, these are people you should make. There should be your stars. Adam Page, I get it. He was not ready for that run to the mainstream audience as the champ. But you have others that Scorpio Sky should have been on TV way more. All these people, and again, yes, it's good to see Bryan Danielson. Yes, it's good to see Punk. Yes, it's gonna be good to see Adam Cole. Yes, the Paul White doesn't need a match. Neither does QT Marshall. But also, you can't keep signing every legend or Hall of Famer. So it's like, and then people will say, well, they got Dark and Elevation. Those shows aren't meant to make stars. They're just to say everybody on our roster can get a chance to work eventually.
So there's many things. Like my favorite comment that my friend made probably last night is like AEW puts on a really good wrestling show that sometimes it makes you forget that let me actually pull up his quote because it was very good. But like we both like love the show. But like the signing of stars, I'm like I get it, and I agree to a certain point, but it's never going to change. It's been that way since WCW and WWF. They used to do it with each
Absolutely.
other all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, and
So, like,
again, that's the thing. But I think again, it's that statement of that goes to that statement of those who don't study history are doomed to repeat it.
yeah.
And
But, like,
WCW had those days where you let old WCW Thunder episodes where it was just the fucking natural born thrillers every week.
okay, here's my friend's quote.
Okay.
AEW can have an amazing show and have problems with showcasing black wrestlers and women outside of Dark and Elevation.
Mhm.
Which
And a lot of people was like, "Oh, great!" Because even when Adam Cole popped, like you knew Bryan Danielson was coming. The Adam Cole was a surprise. Everybody was like, "Great, 2 more white guys to go in the main event."
I know, and like, but I'm still excited in the moment. Like, that's the thing, because like once he started that speech, the only person that could beat me, I'm like, it's going to end with somebody that's dead, and then Adam Cole's going to show up because he's a ghost, and like that happened, and I was so delighted.
I
And
had
then
no
like
idea it was going to be Adam Cole.
huh?
I had no idea it was going to be Adam Cole.
Well, like once the start of the speech happened, I'm like, oh, this is going to be like that person would have to be dead. And I was like, this is a callback to Ring of Honor when they murdered Adam Cole. And I'm like,
I got what you're saying. Okay.
Because like for years, like Britt Baker, whenever she would appear on like BTE, said, "You murdered my boyfriend." Like she would call them out every single time because Adam Cole is in continuity dead to them. And then he showed up, then he super kicks the good guy. I'm like, yes, scumbag. Well, Adam Cole is the way he should always be. And then D. Bry came out, or Bry D. That's weird now. But like,
yeah, his actual name, because everybody got so used to years being Dare Bryan. That's like, no, it's really Bryan. But he came out with his Brock Lesnar hairdo. I was like, so who wore it best? That's the question now.
Yeah. But like Ruby Soho, I mean, that's the one I cannot complain about because AEW needs to use women more. Obviously.
I can complain. I have a complaint about that. I'm happy for her as somebody who's worked with her on the indies, but that should have been Thunder Rosa's.
Oh, the win?
Yes.
I'm happy with either, but like I agree with the Thunder Rosa win.
That should have been Thunder Rosa's. Like I feel like you build it up, like you're gonna automatically throw her into this title match with Britt probably Wednesday.
Oh my god, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like she's gonna be around. You make this big deal about Thunder Rosa. That's another person I'm talking about. Like this person, you make this big deal. You got it from NWA officially now.
Okay, so here's a question for memory wise, which is probably terrible for both of us. Outside of Thunder and Britt, what was the last eventful women's story in AEW? Like that felt the same as Adam Cole's Adam Page's journey to the title.
For a while, it was Nyla's.
And I'm trying to think, what was her like big story though? Like her feuding with Sheeta? Because they didn't.
Her being honestly, it was her being trans. It was them building it off the back of her being trans.
Okay, but I don't think that was a story that they presented in the fiction of AEW.
Okay, so you're talking about that was the story that encompassed it, but the story I get what you the story.
Something that they wrote and put on their television program.
It lost steam, but it was Brandy, Kong, and them.
Oh yeah, the Nightmare Collective.
Yeah, it lost its steam, but that was a big one they were doing.
Yeah, like she's a spooky witch sometimes, but then they
dropped it. That was
which I was here for, but yeah, they all dropped it. But like that's the thing, like AEW is the black and women talent outside of Dark and Elevation. They're really good with writing stories for very the white boys basically.
That's the one thing about and again that's pro wrestling in general, and I know that I will be openly honest and say it's not just the AEW thing, it's a WWE thing, it's an NWA thing. That is pro wrestling in general. It is always, we can't promote black talent unless they're playing a certain gimmick or they have to be secondary to everybody else. Like granted, Powerhouse Hobbs, for instance. He has the look, he can go, but he doesn't have the personality to project. Mm-hmm. So that's the one thing he's missing. So I get it. You give him that, boom. Because you have to have an all-around package. Now, when we look at all these people that are in these main event pitches, they have this all-around package. Why? Because they've been given that opportunity to develop it consistently.
Like, I know in Dark, there was a story for a while, like, it was Diamante and Big Swole. They were having a feud going that's just entirely on dark. And I'm like, oh, this would be great if you like talked about it or at all or showed it at all on Dynamite. And like, they're like
The one that I'm
like
really
I said, they can put on a great show and get me excited, but then it's just like let's and the matches are always generally good week to week. So that's always like, but then it's always the thing of like, well, I wish they would really do better in this area.
also like the one person I said last night, I was at so my buddy Martin, we went over to his friend's house for a moment to watch the pay-per-view. And one of the things I was like, at this point, if I'm Kiera Hogan, I'm staying the fuck away from AEW.
Yeah, it's like so frustrating. But like,
if I'm Kiera Hogan, nope. Y'all just don't give a shit. Cause like even NWA gave her more credit during that gauntlet
Empower,
thing,
right? Yeah.
Yes, on Empower. NWA was like, yo, she's the hottest free agent. Yo, we making her look like, granted, she looked good. She didn't look like just somebody you're throwing in the ring.
Yeah. And it's a mixed bag because like I'm happy for her to be on like cable television. Actually, she hasn't been on that yet, but like she's been on pay-per-view for the cable program.
Well, she was no. Remember, she got squashed by Jay Cargill, so technically she has been.
Yeah. But like she's also getting to work with her. I don't know if they're married, but I know they're longtime partners, Diamantes. So like, because like they tweet about her all the time.
I didn't know that was her. I didn't know that Diamante was.
Oh yeah, like I think it was years ago they came out as a couple.
Oh, okay.
So like, and they tweeted photos of them, and where Kiera's kissing Diamante's cheek last night, and it was super adorable. And like, so like there's just so much they could do, and like they've clearly been building up some women's tag teams low key, but will they do anything? That's always the question. Like
you had a whole women's tag team tournament, whole tournament,
some medals, yeah,
for
like,
nothing,
and like it's. I think Jordan Grace made the comments about like, oh, so like this Forbidden Door is only for the TNA, the Impact Champion. Okay, the women are not involved in this door.
We talked about that. We talked about that a lot. Was like it was really weird that unless the team, and even then, when Rich Swann was the champ, he never came to AEW.
It's a one-way door too.
It's a one-way door.
Yeah. So like, but like, I mean, yes. Problems. It was a fun show. Like Kojima, and then Suzuki comes out, and I'm like, oh my god! And I'm like, thank God. I was happy with Ruby coming out, and her hugging Bryce was adorable. And then like
the history, so like you get it.
Yeah. So it's like loving all these people, and like just so like, but it was basically I crashed basically after the women's battle royale. Like after the Ruby moment, it was the Jericho MJF match, and I'm like, MJF should have won. A dusty finish in favor of the face was the weirdest thing ever to me. It will always confuse me.
Yeah, it was like,
but like somebody pointed out, like the crowd was super on fire once they restarted that. I'm like, all right.
They did. Like, the crowd did get right back. They got into it hotter than the match itself.
Yeah. So like, I'm like, all right, well that was cool, but I still wanted Jericho to lose because I'm like, you're really good. You're a lot. You're look. You're the same age as Kojima, but he's in way better shape than you. And he's
because he's an alcoholic. Because Jericho's an alcoholic, and you can see it. Like if Jericho didn't drink like he drank, because he's bloated. If he didn't drink like he drinks, he would be in amazing shape, and you'd be able to see it. But then, so I will admit, the Lucha Brothers and the Young Bucks.
That match was so good. So that Eddie and the women's battle royal were my three favorite matches.
Yeah. With the Lucha Brothers, though, I was over the buddy's house, and I was like, "There's the one thing I love about it is something, it was beautiful. This is a beautiful wrestling match. You know what I'm saying? This is a beautiful story being told in the ring, right? Because that's what this was. That was for as much shit as the Young Bucks catch, that was storytelling. Just
yeah, they can do real good when they want to. It's great.
When they want to, they do damn good.
Yeah. And look, they always have fun matches. Like no matter what, like I've always have enjoyable matches when watching them, especially on pay-per-view. But like this match was incredible. And like the Luchas won, I was like so happy. And
you knew they were with that intro, you was like, they better be with, like, we're doing a lot in this intro.
Yeah. I actually didn't expect them to win.
So here's the thing I was bringing up at my buddy's house. So people were talking about Nia and Charlotte when they got into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And somebody brought up on Twitter, I forgot who it was like, y'all keep forgetting wrestling, you want it to look like a fight.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment with Charlotte and Nia, you forgot all of the choreographed steps, move, and you saw a fight. And so it's like you can get both, and people forget this. People be always thinking is we have to have spot after spot after spot after spot after spot. But if shit goes real, and like you see somebody catch a 2-piece and a biscuit like Charlotte did, and we all found out she can't fight in real life. Like it's because I ain't never seen nobody get hit and it was like, oh, I don't know what to do. Because like Nia was like, don't slap me, please don't slap me again. And she did it was like, baby, like, yeah. But the Lucha Brothers, they were like, yo, we gonna go all out for this. Like, no pun intended. And the I don't know if Pentagon bled the right something happened because that was a lot. Yeah, like, he caught it under the eye somewhere. Like that was a lot of blood.
Yeah, like when I at the moment when I was watching, I'm like, there's two things I know about these two boys. They love to bleed and they love getting their masks ripped up. Like throughout history, their masks are always getting torn up and they're always bleeding because they love it. I think that I don't know who trained them or like what they brought up in Lucha, but like it's like no, just tear my mask open.
Because that's the whole
let
thing.
it hang off me. Yeah, because the disrespect and the honor. And
but the problem is, do you ever actually get to the point where you just rip the whole thing off? Like instead of just having it hang on.
So that was a spot that I've noticed for Pentagon, especially the first year of AEW. Like it happened in their first match with the ladder match with the Young Bucks, where they ripped his mask off and he does the shock face and hands cover the face. And like a couple weeks before, I had seen him wrestle John Moxley up in some place in New York, and Moxley did the same exact thing to win the match. I'm like, oh, Penta must just love this spot. That's how he can lose with honor because he's got to protect his face. So he's willing to sacrifice the match to protect his face.
If you ever see him and Ray without their masks together, you are like, that is who? Wait, those are who?
Yeah, I bet.
They are like the two nerdiest looking, regular, ordinary guys without their mask, and especially Penta without the makeup. Mm-hmm. So you're just like, wait, them dudes are who?
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, that's Penta and Ray. And you're like, stop fucking playing.
I feel like I've seen all of Phoenix's face just based in Lucha Underground because, like, I forget, it was one of the Grave Consequences match where his mask was just hanging around his neck, but he's just mostly got blood on his face because, like, man, he got torn up in that show.
But see, the blood kind of covers it, so you don't get to fully see it.
Yeah, but like, it was a fun. Like, my favorite tweet that I saw after the show was like AEW put on one of their best pay-per-views ever because Cody Rhodes wasn't on screen at all.
And
I'm like, yes, this is true. I love this. I agree.
The fact that this was a pay-per-view with no Cody, but again, it's like, so this would have been a super fucking long pay-per-view if you think about it. If that Pac and Andrade match would have happened, because again, who got shortchanged throughout all this? The women. That's why the women's battle, why the Casino Royale, if you notice, they were sitting there like, come on, go.
Yeah, like it was originally supposed to be on the buy-in until they announced on Twitter it wasn't. I'm like, how do you do this Ruby spot on the pre-show? I cannot imagine.
Somebody thought about that. Somebody was like, it would make no sense to debut her.
Yeah. Thankfully that they moved it. But yeah, like it was like there was some confusion and stuff that happened. Like, because I think like Riho got in and out like so fast. I'm like, wait, what happened? I remember Jamie Hayter going like this, like that. All right, well, too late.
Yo, it was a lot of them that were going out. They were just like, you gotta go. I was like, Penelope Ford is still in. What happened? Like, again, I understand as having been in battle royals, and for people always thinking it's not, I'm gonna pull the curtain back. For people thinking it's not as planned until it gets to the final four, that is not always true. Like, there are spots literally planned within this, and so it's a giant moving puzzle. But when now all of a sudden your time is getting cut, now this giant moving puzzle has to squeeze itself together
Yeah.
to try to make sense. And again, we all knew Ruby was the Joker. Everybody knew that, right?
I mean, look,
It would have been best to have been Brandy.
She was the number one thought in my head. The backup that I would have loved was if it was they're the inspiration now. If they came out together, because there's two, and they would just like be on the microphone like, "There's two Jokers in a deck," like they just coming out here and like just being the biggest shithead jerks ever.
Here's my problem. What are they gonna do with them?
So that's the thing.
When they come in,
what are gonna do with a tag team?
Because when they come in, okay, it's the inspiration, blah 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 blah. You have a tag team, but now you're like, you don't do shit with women's tag teams. You don't really do shit with women's wrestling. The focal points in which you made this fucking company, I think that's the part that frustrates a lot of people. Was diversity.
Where's Sonny Kiss? Because you made a big deal about her.
Sonny was in that deal with Nyla when they were making these big deals and we're doing diversity, right? This big thing about diversity. We have Nyla Rose, an openly transgender wrestler. You're like, well, Nyla's not the first, but Nyla may be the first to make TV, I guess, because that's what kind of how they were building it. I was like, yo, there are a couple of other trans wrestlers.
Openly trans, gay, Native American woman.
I was like, okay, y'all trying to use it all to cap diversity for that one. Cool. Sonny Kiss, I was like, okay. And then all of a sudden you threw Sonny on Dark, and it was like, now, basically, quarantine AEW was supposed to be this, oh, okay. They do have all these people, because you started seeing all this talent, Pineapple Pete, Sugar D, all these people. That was diversity then during the quarantine moments of AEW. But when the real shit happens again, now all of a sudden it's like, where's all these people? Hobbs and Brian Cage could have had a match on that pay-per-view. They should have had the match on the pay-per-view. Granted, I'm waiting on Brian Cage's heart to give out one of these days, because look, anybody who ever believes, Brian Cage is all natural, shit. Cage don't know how to off-cycle.
Look, here's the thing. You take QT Marshall has had so many pay-per-view matches, and I do not understand why, other than he's a trainer, and I guess because like he does a lot of other backstage stuff.
He's one of Cody's best friends.
Apparently.
That's
what they told us. I'm like, are you? I'm pretty sure that was like Matt. What's his face?
But no, that's how you get people who get jobs there. Because again, you have the five who are the heads of the company: the Young Bucks, Cody, Kenny, and somebody else. And so you get Brandon Cutler from the Young Bucks. You get Riho as the champion because of Kenny. You get QT Martin. You're like, I get it, but I don't. Because when Riho was champ, I was like, she is 90 pounds.
Like, and I don't have a problem with that. But the other problem, the bigger problem was when she was champion, she was spending a lot of time in Japan, and they had to know that was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But before going in. So like you set yourselves up to but like she got such big reactions. So I'm like, all right, when she's there, the fans loved her. So there was that, but like, that's why like them taking forever to put the belt on Britt, but making sense because they wanted to do it in front of the live crowds back.
Which is fair. Give Britt her moment.
Yeah.
Give Britt her moment. Fair.
But like when she's the only one you focus on for like a year plus straight, she should have had the title earlier, probably.
I mean, granted, this is kind of a good thing she didn't, because her run would have become Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, probably. I mean, she kept getting injured, right, for a while.
She kept getting injured for a little bit, which to an extent helps her out.
Yeah,
yes, you don't work. You don't.
She was still on TV every week while injured, so like it did not slow her down at all.
Still on TV, still making money, but again, it's like I said with Drew McIntyre, Drew becomes the COVID champ, because I know I was that person that was like, as soon as they announced WrestleMania was gonna have fans, I was like, here it goes. I said Vince about to give him his in person moment. I said Vince, because he was supposed to get it at WrestleMania last year.
Yeah, he won last year.
I said, Vince finna give it to him. I said, I can see Bobby Lashley unfortunately being a transitional champ, and Vince finna give him this moment. And then Vince did. I was like, huh?
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
Huh? And then you look and you like, Bobby Lashley about to, oh, This is a real thing. This is a real.
Yeah.
So what else has been going on with you?
Not much.
How have
Like,
you? How have you been?
doing okay, I guess. I mean, look, it's the loss of my mom is still so fresh that like it's impossible to not think about her almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, started vocal therapy last week, and sort of like
Okay.
my insurance has gone through for that and everything, so like we can set up regular sessions. So I'm excited for hopefully
That's one of
that.
the reasons I love talking to you because us watching you go through your transition, and for me, I'm learning a lot. I'm learning so much more because hearing now how insurance covers this process. Because if I'm not mistaken, back in the day, this was a thing
Oh,
insurance wasn't even
I'm
touching.
sure it was not, yeah. But yeah, insurance covers a lot of it. Covers a lot of my medication. Also, insurance covers like mental health, so I can have like therapy visits, which is
Mm,
nice for the first time ever. Because I never, it's hard to look for a therapist. I never knew how to do it before,
same here.
so
Same here.
my transitioning doctor recommended some people after he found out about my mother's loss, and he's like, "All right, I can put you in touch with some people here." So,
Right.
um, so the vocal therapy, I'm excited. Hopefully, we'll see how that goes. I don't know, like how long it. I know other people have gone through it, and obviously they've been able
Yeah.
to change their voice. So it was something they're happier with. So that's
Because I know that's always been a big thing for you. Every time we talk, like one of the things you hate is still your voice because
yeah,
it's not the voice you want to have.
yeah. It's so deep, and like I would love if I could be like a vocal mimic and just do this voice when I want to do this voice, but I
Mhm.
don't want it to be my natural voice. I don't want it to be my default voice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, because like, I'm sick and tired of being confused from because of my voice.
But you know what's it's weird with that statement too. I know a lot of I think the term is cis women. I'm still getting used to all the cis thing. You're like I know women like call trans women, you're women. That's
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
Like that's it. But I know women with natural voices who are just deep natural voices. My son's aunt, she's a lesbian, and her voice is just naturally deep.
Mhm.
So, but the problem is, and she's what do they say, masculine presenting? So, but she gets hella pissed when she be on the phone and people like, I'm sorry, sir. She's like, I'm not a sir. It's like, okay, listen,
Yeah.
you got to give people the benefit of the doubt. They don't know who you are. All they you're on the phone with someone and
Yeah,
you're
yeah, I
calling
know.
in and you're calling in for the first time and they hear a deep voice. What is the default you think? It's a guy.
Yeah, like I haven't heard the voice. I don't know. Like I remember I watched some YouTube videos because like an assignment I was given was like write down some qualities of women whose voices you like, and like the one recurring thing is I love a deep raspy voice. But like when I hear it, I'm like, oh yeah, no, that like I would never confuse you for a man. But that's
Mhm.
because like I'm so used to my voice, and like I'm like, no, you sound not as deep as me. So
Right, right,
and
right.
like
Doesn't have that deep
this
of a
one woman
register.
was, was like, I always get confused for a man. I'm like, wow, really? Okay, but like everyone's experience is different. So
Mhm. That makes sense. That makes
and like
sense.
my voice is not raspy, so it is very resonant, which I've
Right.
known
So,
for
like,
years.
how would like you couldn't, if I'm not mistaken, even with vocal therapy, would you be able to have a raspy
Oh,
type?
I have no clue. I don't know. It
Okay.
sounds like it might be painful if I tried, which is
That's what that was exact because I'm like I can think about when I'm trying to just do voices and imitations and just make and like I don't have a natural super deep voice, but I'm trying to do raspy. That shit starts to hurt after a
yeah.
while.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Like I'm like, look, I'm never gonna have a Jennifer Tilly voice. I'm pretty sure that will never
Quit.
be my thing.
I quit. Look at this Jennifer Tilly voice.
Yeah, look, can you
Joe,
you
Joe.
look, I say that you know exactly the like the rasp. You hear
Yes,
it, so it's very iconic. Yeah, but yeah,
that's
Shang Chi was so good. My I have a few complaints,
what,
obviously.
what you know what I was so this is one thing I don't know if you watched my review. One of the things I was glad for was that Marvel did what they told everybody, especially people the Asian Chinese audience. They were like, "Listen, we are not doing the stereotypes.
Oh yeah,
And
thank God,
anything you thought
thank
would
God.
be one, they shot it. The Mandarin shoot down is the best
It's so much
thing
fun.
ever."
It was so much fun. Yeah, my most minor of complaints was he's not shirtless enough. He should be shirtless more.
I'm
Like,
leaving. I'm leaving this. I'm leaving
like,
this.
I'm sorry. Can you think of Shang-Chi's iconic costume look as wearing a shirt? That may have been his first appearance costume,
This
but
is
he's
true.
Bruce Lee. He is a shirtless. He wears
He is Bruce.
pants.
He is basically Bruce Lee in a comic book.
Yeah, and like it's very fun. Like the fights, you've already said it before multiple times. The fights are incredible. There's so much. They're so good.
That scaffolding scene is
Oh my
arguably
god.
some of the best shit. My mind was blown.
Yeah, I don't have much history with Aquafina, so I enjoyed her a lot in the movie because she was funny. So she was.
But that's what I'm saying. In the movie, so like I said in my review, I let go of my disc because again, that culture vulture shit, and then people trying to be like, that's how she talks normally. It's like, no, that is not.
Yeah.
And so I had to quell that to watch the movie. And again, I enjoyed what she did in the movie.
Oh yeah, it's
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I will always miss the rings just being rings. I don't know, like it's.
Well,
It's
I mean, because you're a comic fan, like
that's
I
the
am.
thing. Like that's always the issue when I have to realize I'm like, it's not the comics, but sometimes I'm like, you could be a little more like the comics. Come on, please.
Well, I know, I get why they because he didn't want to. It makes sense because they didn't want to do like basically two gauntlets. Having
Yeah,
two,
I
like you
get
end
it.
up doing the gauntlet. I was like, the Makulan rings work
Yeah,
because
it's cool.
because it looks so fucking cool. Like,
Yeah.
oh my.
And then, but like, because again, it's still great and I still love it. But like the thing, because the comic, I mean, I'm like, but Shang-Chi doesn't need those anyway. Like he's got them now in the universe. He has those rings. I'm like, he's good enough. He shouldn't need those rings though. Like he should just have them to the side. Like I don't. I'm just gonna beat you up.
The best part about him having them because now you're like, okay, so now he can be on the level of whatever threat, whatever major threat. I want to know what
But
the
like,
beacon is in the rings.
I'm very like both mid-credit, post-credit scenes were just so good. Like, because you expect like, all right, this one's kind of serious. Oh, the next one will be the joke. I'm like, this had the joke, and it was a great joke.
Oh
Because
yeah,
it's
so
just like, yeah, I guess we should do. Or
and they
and like,
start singing karaoke.
and it was very funny because I remember like another podcast, comic book club, they talk like, yeah, Wong's thing is he just sort of shows up and then leaves for most of the movies anyway. So I'm excited to see him show up and then just leave for most of the movie. And he
Him
does
beating
that.
Abomination's ass, taking Abomination back to the raft was like, now next time you work on what we try with Trey.
Oh, is that where they went? I thought like I didn't know where they were going.
I
I
think
thought
it's
like
the
he was
raft.
just like living with Wong somewhere.
I would
And,
assume it's
he
the
got
raft.
the fins. He got the fins.
Oh, I loved it. Everybody was like, "Oh, that is Abomination. That is officially Abomination." But I love
he
like,
had the underoos and the fins. And
but it's like
my heart
there's something that's got to set up where he comes up in She-Hulk because he's a major part of She-Hulk.
Okay, I'm excited. So maybe she's defending him. I don't know.
Also, the fact that we now have Bruce Banner back, that is perfect because now it explains how he is going to be the reason Jennifer Walters becomes She-Hulk.
Okay, yeah.
Because you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you knew was, you know what I'm saying? If you know the comics like you and I do, and for some of y'all watching, you're like, okay, something happens, she needs a transfusion, she gets her cousin's blood, and that's what does it. But it makes it, instead of just seeing this big green motherfucker try to get blood, you're like, that's not gonna be good if he tries to get blood.
Like no one's gonna think about that. All right. Yeah, I was thinking like, would it be some weird way how Abomination gives her the blood? I don't know how they would do that, but it's
because technically Abomination is created. Abomination is the creation people forget of not only Banner's blood, but the super soldier serum.
Yeah. Not even the super soldier, like some other failed attempt at the super
soldier.
A
failed attempt and we tried to get this shit together. We couldn't figure out. Yeah, because we didn't put Vita Rays. That was the only thing that I guess they were missing were Vita Rays.
Yeah, I remember we talked about that. Like, I don't know. It's confusing. It's so confusing. But like, yeah, the big chamber.
Like, yeah, I love what they did when again the Mandarin thing. Like they named him like Orange. Like they named him an Orange. I was like
chicken.
Oh,
chicken dish, an orange.
I was like, oh, y'all shot this down real quick, and then to explain Trevor Slattery was the greatest shit ever. It was
like they tie in that the Marvel one shot Hail to the King or whatever.
She said they kidnapped me and they were gonna kill me, and it's like, oh, so you're the jester, kind of.
Yeah, and it's got that little. Where's its face? He's very sensitive.
He's very
Like
sensitive
he
about.
brought like great jokes because it's getting all sad. Like he's dead. Just play dead with me.
And they lay. Oh my god.
And like this was so great, especially because like WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier. Like
Really?
look, they were a lot of fun up until the endings. The one ending of WandaVision still annoys me because she's basically a villain, and they just let her fly
But
away.
yes, I agree because that's the purpose of Doctor Strange. She's the villain of Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
So I get
which
it.
like
However,
that's
that
good
was
setup. But in the moment when
right in the
Monica
moment,
says
that's the moment.
they'll
Why?
never know what you sacrificed, I'm like, she sacrificed nothing. She created these ideas and held people hostage. She
But
didn't
also,
sacrifice much.
so I was having this discussion with a buddy of mine the other day. They were like, "Yo, they just let this white woman leave." I said, "You do realize all of Sword basically was like, who the fuck gonna stop her? Because
Monica has powers now. She could try.
but she don't know how to use them yet. She don't know what to do yet. So like, she just in this.
That's what the hero does. They try. Falcon and Winter Soldier had also the weird ending, and like,
Well, we all know about that. The pandemic
yeah.
changed everything.
Loki was fine now that I've gotten past it and accustomed to the season 2 and how it sets up all the movies. But the Black Widow movie is just kind of like a middle of the road, whatever. It felt like a Phase 1 MCU movie and not like the.
So you know, I said to everybody again, I'm always going to be in that camp of this is 10 years too late.
Yeah.
But I understand the only reason you don't get it then is because you don't get a Florence Pugh.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there were numerous art actresses you could have gotten at that time.
Yeah. And like she was incredible and I love her character and I look forward to seeing more. But like, and it's funny because it's like one of the Marvel comics. I'm like, oh, to find out what happened here, go and check this other title. And they released them like, and previously on. But like, also, it's just like a run of the mill movie. Like the villain wasn't very interesting, and Taskmaster was just like, why are you here? Like,
it's a Black Widow. Unfortunately, is another Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah,
and I say that by it's a 2-hour plot device. The whole movie is a giant, instead of it being part of the story as a plot device, the whole movie, and I know people will be like, well, that's what most MCU movies are. I'm like, yes, but at the same time, they have their own stories within them.
They still make them work.
They make them work. This is a giant ass plot device just to give you Yelena.
Yeah,
and you're like,
and it's funny thinking that Julia Louise Val's character debut in that movie. I'm like, wow, that's okay, I guess.
So now the question becomes with that, and we got to get ready to wrap it because I got to do one more behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Are we getting? What are we getting? Are we getting the West Coast? Right? Are we getting the West Coast Avengers, the Thunderbolts, or the Young Avengers? What are we getting?
I feel like we might get both Young Avengers and the Thunderbolts.
That seems more like because
the introduction of the kid characters is very much separate from the introduction of all the Thunderbolt-like characters.
Right. Because you got U.S. Agent, now you have Yelena. So you got 2 of your Thunderbolts. And 3, because if you want to count Contessa, you have the one who sets it up.
Hawkeye, she's being sent after Hawkeye, so that could be a thing for the because he was in the Thunderbolts. Zemo, maybe.
Here's the issue with that.
No, he's in Wakanda right now.
He's in the Thunderbolts, but Kate is a Young Avenger.
Yeah.
So that becomes the weird part. You know what I'm saying? Are we killing off Jeremy Renner? Because I know a lot of people were like,
please do. Please do. We don't need him. He's boring and he's not great.
Like, if you're killing off Jeremy. So again, it's like, okay, so if you take Kate, that means Kate is going which way now?
Because because you don't need Hawkeye in the Thunderbolts because he was not a mainstay. He was
not at all.
He was like, I'll join later. That's what he did. He joined later. Like you just don't need him. Because he's not the fun comic book Hawkeye.
Let me see Let me see. I want to see the exact number so I can remember.
Originally, Songbird, Citizen V, who was Baron Zemo, the Beetle, who was Mach 5, one of the Goliaths, I think. There was a big size changing dude, and I can't remember who else was the original, but like the mainstays and like Moonstone joined. Like Thunderbolts
Yeah,
basically was the Suicide Squad of the Marvel
it's the
universe.
suit of the right. It's the Suicide Squad. I'm looking at it. Yeah, it's like so like or that means in Hawkeye. That means in Hawkeye, we're getting an introduction of a. If we're going Thunderbolts, because it looks like it, it literally looks like it now after having Contessa meet John Walker and now with Yelena. That means in Hawkeye, we finna get at least 2 or 3 of them. So Yelena's gonna be chasing them, and they gonna be doing stuff involving other members that are potentially gonna be
Yeah,
members of the Thunderbolts.
I mean, you and I are dyed in the wool, gonna watch it no matter what. Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
you have more of a job about it. Like I'm just like the viewer, but like I'm excited either way. So it's fun to like predict. Uh, Last thing I guess before we go, like I
Yeah.
rewatched Crisis on Earth X with my friend. Like the CW Nazi crossover.
The Nazi one, everybody was like, "This is dark. This is way too dark."
Like, look, it is still one of the best superhero movies by far, in my opinion. This
It was
4-hour
done.
crossover.
Yeah, Crisis on Earth X was done very well.
It's so good. But like, and it's funny because like you and I have talked this before, but DC in the CW series beats Marvel to the punch every single time. Because like they had the Atom riding a T-sphere, then jumping off and growing big and punching a dude long before Hawkeye shot an arrow with Ant-Man.
Yep.
And like
it's like they know it. It's almost like they have somebody who's at the time they had people who were sneakily telling them this is going to happen. So you might want, because the first time Ant-Man grew, the Atom grew.
Yeah.
Right.
And like, that's not even a thing that Atom does in the comics, but like, no, let's do it. I'm sure. And like they did the multiverse. They've had the multiverse for years. That they just shut the multiverse down, but it exists again.
Remember Legends did the totems?
Yep.
When we were talking about the Infinity Stones.
Yep. I think like, yeah, that's season 3 of Legends. That's what that's the season with Earth X. And like, it's just, I don't know. It's just so good, but it's so fun and think like, wow, CW is on top of this.
If anything, one thing I will say from this, and granted, it was Nazi paraphernalia for the time. I would so buy, if I had the money, that Oliver Queen suit, the black one, the black Nazi, minus the Nazi band,
yeah, minus the double lightning bolt,
minus the lightning bolts, but the black version of his arrow suit was so cold.
Yeah, and like, there's so many good bits because like, there's the scene where like they're all going to this one location and Barry gets there and Supergirl get there at the same time, and then like they're just standing there waiting, looking at each other and like shrugging. Ollie drives up, is like, super speed. I don't have it.
I don't have it. Like
Melissa Benoist getting to be like so campy and over the top with her Nazi, but it's funny because Ollie is exactly the same because Oliver Queen sucks in both worlds.
No matter what. And by the way, because I gotta go, they're bringing back Kat McNamara.
I'm very excited because I love her more and more looking back. Like I need to get to that point to rewatch. Yeah. Like I feel like she was. I would have loved the series because I love.
They messed up the series, set it in the future.
Yeah, same. Agreed. But also, forever love Iris's face when Felicity's like, "Let's get married too." Like, you bitch.
It was like, bitch. But no one acknowledges that. Because I was like, yo, we're not going to talk about how bogus this shit is.
It's insane. It's so infuriating.
Tell the people how they can find you, where you stream at on Twitch every now and then, all those good things.
It's been a while. Hopefully I'll get back
to
it. At Jolene -. Also on Twitter, same handle, at Jolene -. Those are pretty much it. And
y'all already know why I am with everything, because that's why you're here. I told y'all I love doing these. Stay tuned for the rest of them. Holla at y'all later. They're going to wait real quick. I'm out. Bye.